When recited, a Mobius spell gave a specified volume of space a half-twist that left it permanently out of sync with the spaces surrounding it. The effect would be like stopping an elevator between floors, forever. "You read it all through?" Kit asked. "Uh-huh." "Then let's get back in the tunnel and do it, and get out of here. I'm getting this creepy feeling that things aren't going to be quiet on ground level when we get up there." They wanted to say goodbye to the eldest, but it had forgotten them already. "Mine, mine, mine," it was whispering as garbage and gold flew in all directions from the place where it dug. "Let's go," Fred said. Out in the tunnel, the fire fungus seemed brighter to Nita, or perhaps that was only the effect of looking at the Book of Night with Moon. They halted at the spot where the tunnel curved and began with great care to read the Mobius spell. The first part of it was something strange and unsettling, an invocation to the powers that governed the arts of wizardry, asking help with this piece of work, and promising that the power lent would be returned when they required. Nita shivered, wondering what she was getting herself into, for use of the speech made the promise more of a prediction. Then came the definition of the space to be twisted, and finally, the twisting itself. As they spoke the words, Nita could see the eldest, still digging away at his hoard, going pale and dim as if with distance, going away, though not moving. The words pushed the space farther and farther away, toward an edge that could be sensed more strongly, though not seen. Then suddenly, over it. The spell broke, completed. Nita and Kit and Fred were standing at the edge of a great empty pit, as if someone had reached into the earth and scooped out the subway station, the hoard, and the eldest whole. Someone had. "I think we'd better get out of here," Kit said very quietly. As if in answer to his words came a long, soft groan of strained timber and metal. The pillars and walls of the tunnel where they stood, and the tunnel on the other side of the pit, bending under new stresses that the pillars of the station had handled, and that these were not meant to. Then a rumble, something falling. Nita and Kit turned and ran down the tunnel, stumbling over timbers and picking themselves up and running again. Fred zipped along beside like a shooting star, looking for the right place to fall. They slammed into the wall at the end of the track as the rumble turned to a thunder, and the thunder started catching up behind. Nita found bare concrete, said the mason's word in a gasp, and flung the stone open. Kit jumped through with Fred behind him. The tunnel shook, roared, blew out a stinging, dust-laden wind, and went down in ruin as Nita leaped through the opening and fell to the tracks beside Kit. He got to his knees slowly, rubbing himself where he had hit. "Boy," he said, "if we weren't in trouble with you-know-who before, we are now." Hurriedly, Kit and Nita got up, and the three of them headed for the ledge and the way to the open air. Major Wizardries, Termination, and Recovery. With great caution and a grunt of effort, Kit pushed up the grill at the top of the concrete steps and looked around. "Oh, brother," he whispered, "sometimes I wish I wasn't right." He scrambled up out of the tunnel and onto the sidewalk, with Nita and Fred following right behind. The street was a shambles reminiscent of 5th and 62nd. Corpses of cabs and limousines and even a small truck were scattered around, smashed into lampposts in the fronts of buildings, overturned on the sidewalk. The Lotus Esprit was crouched at guard a few feet away from the grill opening, its engine running in long, tired-sounding gasps. As Kit ran over to it, the Lotus rumbled an urgent greeting and shrugged its doors open. "They know we're here," Nita said as they hurriedly climbed in and buckled up. "They have to know what we've done. Everything feels different since the dark book fell out of this space." "And they must know we'll head back for the World Gate at Pan Am," Fred said, "wherever that is." "We've got to find it." Oof! Kit said, as the Lotus reared back, slamming its door shut, and dove down the street they were on, around the corner, and north again. "Nita, you up for one more spell?" "Do we have a choice?" She got her manual out of her pack, started thumbing through it. "What I want to know is what we're supposed to try on whatever they have waiting for us at Grand Central. You-know-who isn't just going to let us walk in there and leave with the bright book. We'll burn that bridge when we come to it." Kit had his backpack open in his lap and was peeking at the Book of Night with Moon. Even in the sullen dimness that leaked in the Lotus's windows, the edges of the pages of the book shone, the black depths of its covers glowed with the promise of light. Kit ran a finger along the upper edge of one cover, and as Nita watched, his face settled into a solemn stillness, as if someone spoke, and he listened intently. It was a long moment before the expression broke. Then Kit glanced over at her with a wondering look in his eyes. "It really doesn't look like that much," he said. "But it feels... Nita, I don't think they can hurt us while we have this. Or if they can, it won't matter much." "Maybe not, if we read from it," Nita said, reading down through the spell that would locate the World Gate for them. "But you remember what Tom said?" "Yeah." But there was no concern in Kit's voice, and he was looking soberly at the book again. Nita finished checking the spell and settled back in the seat to prepare for it, then started forward again as a spark of heat burned into her neck. "Ow!" "Sorry." Fred slid around from behind her to perch farther forward on her shoulder. "Here we go," Nita said. She had hardly begun reading the imaging spell before a wash of power such as she had never felt seized her and plunged her into the spell head first. And the amazing thing was that she couldn't even be frightened, for whatever had so suddenly pulled her under and into the magic was utterly benevolent, a huge, calm influence that Nita sensed would do her nothing but good, though it might kill her doing it. The power took her, poured itself into her, made the spell part of her. There was no longer any need to work it. It was. Instantly she saw all Manhattan laid out before her again in shadow outlines, and there was the World Gate, almost drowned in the darkness created by the star snuffer, but not hidden to her. The power let her go then, and she sat back, gasping. Kit was watching her strangely. "I think I see what you mean," she said. "The book, it made the spell happen by itself almost." "Not almost," Kit said. "No wonder you-know-who wants it kept out of the hands of the senior wizards. It could make even a beginner's spell happen. It did the same thing with the Mobius spell. If someone wanted to take this place apart, or if someone wanted to make more places like it, and they had the book..." He gulped. "Look, where's the gate?" "Where it should be," Nita said, finding her breath. "Underground. Under Grand Central. Not in the deli, though. It's down in one of the train tunnels." Kit gulped again, harder. "Trains. And you know that place will be guarded. Fred, are you up to another diversion? Will it get us back to the sun and the stars again? Try me." Nita closed her eyes to lean back and take a second's rest. The power that had run through her for that moment had left her amazingly drained, but nearly jumped out of her skin the next moment as the Lotus braked wildly, fishtailing around a brace of cabs that leaped at it out of a side street. With a scream of engine and a cloud of exhaust and burned rubber, it found its traction again and tore out of the intersection and up 3rd Avenue, leaving the cabs behind. They know! They know!" Nita moaned. "Kit, what are we going to do? Is the book going to be enough to stand up to him?" "We'll find out, I guess," Kit said, though he sounded none too certain. "We've been lucky so far." "No, not lucky. We've been ready." "Maybe that'll be enough. We both came prepared for trouble. We both did our reading." "You did, maybe." Nita looked sheepish. "I couldn't get past chapter 40. No matter how much I read, there was always more." Kit smiled just as uncomfortably. I only got to 33 myself. Then I skimmed a lot. Kit, there's about to be a surprise quiz. Did we study the right chapters? Well, we're going to find out, Kit said. The Lotus turned left at the corner of 3rd and 42nd, speeding down toward Grand Central. 42nd seemed empty, not even a cab was in sight. But a great looming darkness was gathered down the street, hiding the iron overpass. The Lotus slowed, unwilling to go near it. Right here is fine, Kit said, touching the dashboard reassuringly. The Lotus stopped in front of the doors to Grand Central, reluctantly shrugging first Nita's, then Kit's door open. They got out and looked around them. Silence. Nita looked nervously at the doors and the darkness beyond, while the Lotus crowded close to Kit, who rubbed its right wheel well absently. The sound came. A single clang, like an anvil being struck, not too far away. Then another clang, hollow and metallic, echoing from the blank-eyed buildings, dying into bell-like echoes. Several more clangs, close together, then a series of them, a slow drum roll of metal beating on stone. The Lotus pulled out from under Kit's hand, turning to face down 42nd the way they had come, growling deep under its hood. The clangor grew louder. Echoes bounced back and forth from building to building so that it was impossible to tell from what direction the sound was coming. Down at the corner of Lexington and 42nd, a blackness jutted suddenly from behind one of the buildings on the uptown side. The shape of it, and its unlikely height above the pavement, some 15 feet, kept Nita from recognizing what it was, until more of it came around the corner, until the blackness found its whole shape, and swung it around into the middle of the street, on iron hooves. 8 hooves, ponderous and deadly, dented the asphalt of the street. They belonged to a horse. A huge, misproportioned beast, its head skinned down to a skull, leaden-eyed and grinning hollowly. All black iron, that steed was, as if it had stepped down from a pedestal at its rider's call. And the one who rode it wore his own darkness on purpose, as if to reflect the black mood within. The Star Snuffer had put aside his 3-piece suit for chainmail like hammered onyx, and a cloak like night with no stars. His face was still handsome, but dreadful now, harder than any stone. His eyes burned with the burning of the dark book, alive with painful memory about to come real. About the feet of his mount the Peritons milled, not quite daring to look in their master's face, but staring and slavering at the sight of Kit and Nita, waiting the command to course their prey. Kit and Nita stood frozen, and Fred's light, hanging small and constant as a star behind them, dimmed down to its faintest. The cold, proud, erect figure on the black mount raised what it held in its right hand, a steel rod, burning dark, and skewing the air about it as the dark book had. "You have stolen something of mine," said a voice as cold as space, using the speech with icy perfection, and hating it. "No one steals from me." The bolt that burst from the rod was a red, darker than the eldest's fiery breath. Nita did not even try to use the Rowan wand in defense. She might as well have tried to use a sheet of paper to stop a laser beam. But as she and Kit leaped aside, the air around them went afire with sudden clarity, as if for a moment the darkness inherent in it was burned away. The destroying bolt went awry, struck up sideways and blasted soot-stained blocks out of the facade of Grand Central, and in that moment the Lotus screamed wild defiance and leaped down 42nd at the rider and his steed. "No!" Kit screamed. Nita grabbed him, pulled him toward the doors. He wouldn't come.